11Alive News starts now.
Good morning. Still with you here on 11Alive Plus. We just wrapped up our first hour here in the streaming center with you for another hour. We are following breaking news as it happens around Metro Atlanta. Reams is helping us track live shots not just here in the metro area but also nationwide. Big news as it happens. We'll bring it to you live. But first, we got to talk about the weather, not just today, but peeking ahead to the weekend. Chesley, you probably regret talking about the weekend already because you got everybody excited.
Yeah, I mean, all week long, this is going to be the talk. We know it, and that's the way it goes. And typically, we like that because it means that people are at least listening to what you're saying and they are aware. Because you don't want people to say, "Oh, this was a surprise."
No,
not a surprise at all. We are looking at the potential for significant winter weather to come into our area. And when I say significant, Dan, I do mean we don't know what type.
Right.
What you would want is for it to be cold enough that it'll be all snow. You get some traction. Folks will love it. They'll go outside, play in it, and everything will be great. But ice?
Don't want that.
Don't want that. That's problems for us. And we could see it all as we head into the weekend. We have an 11Alive weather impact alert to pass along to you folks. And this is not for today. This is for the upcoming weekend. We're looking at Saturday and Sunday. There could be sleet, freezing rain, snow, could be a cold rain. All depends on the temperatures, how far that Arctic air makes it down to the south. There's still a lot of uncertainties, still a lot of questions about this particular system as it begins to move in, but looks like it could bring us some impacts. We're talking about slick roads, especially if it's ice, or if it's ice is also looking at power outages as well. We're looking at nothing much happening today, of course. It is on the quiet side. We do have dry sky, even though you see a few clouds in the forecast area. Those clouds making their way a little further up to the north. Now, they will not block too much of the sun today. We're going to go ahead and call it mostly sunny skies. Cold on the outside. If you got out yesterday in that sunshine, it was cold, right? We had the winds out there. That's going to continue to be the case as we head through the day today. You're looking at temperatures in the 30s right now. We'll warm up to the 40s for afternoon highs. Yesterday, we got up to 47. Today, I think it's slightly cooler, about 45 will be your afternoon high temperature. Grab the coat before you leave the house. Can't tell you that enough. Maybe the gloves, the hat as well. I know a lot of you are going back to school, back to work, so you'll be inside of a building. So you say, I grab my light jacket. Well, you got to go out and get some lunch, right? You got to go back out to your car. You definitely want to just play it safe, folks. We got clouds not only over us, but stretching all the way back into Texas. No precipitation coming out of those clouds at all. Not worried about that. Stationary boundary down to the south of us will continue to sink southward as high pressure continues to build into the area. Now, that high pressure will get to the east of us, and our winds will begin to shift more southerly by tomorrow. That means that temperature is going to go up just a little bit. So we actually will warm up before this winter system comes in that we're talking about. And we'll have the potential for some rain. I think tomorrow will be dry all day. It won't be until we get to the early evening that we'll get some isolated showers in. That will continue on Thursday. Friday, a cold front will move toward the area, which will increase our chance for rain, and then that cold air comes in behind it. And so how cold will it get on Saturday with that 50% chance for rain? That's what we're going to be looking at closely as we get through the next couple of days, folks. Forecast track model shows us today we're fine, looking pretty good. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, we'll have the sunshine in place, looking great. Clouds will increase by the afternoon. Here comes a wall of rain back off to the west of us. It'll start to break up as it gets in here, so we'll have isolated showers around. Could be some mixing in the far North Georgia mountains, but that'll be brief. It'll get out of the way. We'll hold on to the threat for showers for Thursday, even into Friday as well. And I do want to show you one particular model that we look at. It's called the European model. It does a pretty decent job when it comes to winter precipitation in our area. Now, this could change, all right? But let's see what happens if it was today. You're looking at snow coming in early on Saturday. Now, that would be light stuff, right? Because that's the initial onset of the precipitation, so it'll be coming down light. Eventually, as we get through the morning and get into the afternoon, notice how the temperature creeps up and it changes to all pink. That would be frozen precipitation or a mixing that would take place in the area. That's all day long, right? And even as we head into Sunday, you're looking at pretty much the same. Now, you see that nose of warm air trying to get in here. What our model is trying to do is hold on to what we call a wedge, and that would be colder air coming down or nosing up against the mountains there, which would keep us on the colder side, which means that could be some ice right there in our area on Sunday. It wouldn't wrap up until we get to Sunday evening, going into Monday, and by then the damage would have been done, meaning that ice tends to be heavy. It weighs down power lines, weighs on trees, and so that would snap those power lines and also snap those trees. So you're talking about the potential for a significant event for our area. It is possible, folks. Will it manifest? We'll have to wait and see. It's still far out. We have a lot of questions. A lot of things will have to come together for all this to take place, but we want to let you know what could take place so that you can adjust your plans. Until then, we'll experience temperatures in the 50s for the next couple of days, and so we'll be waiting for that, of course. and then Dan will be looking toward the weekend. So whatever plans you had, it's time to now start thinking about how do I adjust those, especially if you're talking about travel.
I don't like it. I don't like it one bit, Chesley. If it's going to be cold and precipitation, I'd like to see a lot of snow.
I'm with you. I'd rather the snow. You get good traction. You get good vibes. People like that. Ice would cause us significant problems.
But you know what? I'm going to prep for it today.
Yep.
You've given us the heads up. Be prepared potentially for some power outages. So get
Absolutely.
the flashlights, the batteries, phone charge, get it all together.
Yeah, way to charge your batteries, medicine, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You want to put it in a nice, safe place where you can get to it, and maybe even a generator.
I got to go out and get one of those.
Maybe.
All right. Maybe we'll have a better idea tomorrow on Thursday what it's looking like. But thank you so much,
No
Chesley.
problem.
All right, we're hanging on to his every word. All right, let's move on now and bring in Reams. And Reams, what are you following right now, buddy?
Yeah, we talked about this just a few minutes ago. We've been following this Freedom Flight, this Freedom Play National Tour from the National Archives. I've been listening in for you guys. The Atlanta History Museum is one of the 8 locations in 8 cities across the country that will be getting this plane. Let's listen in for a second.
To visit our nation's capital, to see, experience, and learn from American history. Government is not exclusively an Eastern entity, and American history is the story of all of us. From Los Angeles to Lexington, from Coeur d'Alene to Corpus Christi, from sea to shining sea. Each city that was selected is a major metropolitan area that possesses media resources to share this traveling exhibition with surrounding cities and towns. We tried to select areas in which folks can drive a few hours at most to see the exhibition. The goal is to achieve the greatest, widest visibility and reach during the 250th celebration. In addition to each museum, at each stop meets all National Archives requirements for displaying such treasures of historic importance, from climate controls to ample display spaces to security protocols. Believe me, I would like to take this tour to all 50 states. But keeping these documents conserved for another 250 years is at the front of everyone's mind. President Trump has spoken often about his pride as the president who will lead our nation's 250th celebration. During his transition period, not yet even into office, he made this celebration a national priority. This tour was conceived not long after I was appointed by President Trump to manage the National Archives day to day. It has been nearly a year in the making and has involved hundreds of hours of planning among conservators, registrars, security professionals, advance teams, logistics experts, lawyers, insurance experts, pilots, educators, writers, designers, fabricators, teams from all different states, municipalities, and venues working together. Every movement of these documents is tightly scheduled, diligently monitored, well prepared for, and secured. Once the documents disembark from the Freedom Plane, they will be transported in climate-controlled vehicles, secured by professional handlers with the National Archives. They'll arrive at each museum under police escort, and National Archives personnel will work closely with experienced, credentialed staff at each museum to prepare the documents for display. And once they're on view to millions of our fellow Americans, they will be protected at all times. Allow me now to thank the National Archives partners who are here with us for your support, especially the National Archives Foundation and its generous donors, the most noteworthy of which you will be hearing from soon. There is no more noteworthy an occasion than America's 250th birthday to share this history. Hopefully, by allowing folks across the country to get up close to and experience this history, will inspire our fellow Americans to champion our nation's founding ideals into the future. With that, allow me to introduce Rodney Slater, Chairman and President of the National Archives Foundation, who served with distinction as Secretary of Transportation under President Clinton. Mr. Secretary.
You've been listening in live to the National Archives announcing the Freedom Plane National Tour, including a stop here in Atlanta. That Atlanta stop will be happening at the Atlanta History Center from March 27th to April 12th. Other documents will include some of the engravings of the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Association from 1774, as well as the Treaty of Paris, the secret printing of the Constitution, and some tallies of votes approving the Constitution. So, Dan, a lot of historical documents and a plane coming to the Atlanta History Museum March 27th through April 12th.
It's a great spot. If you haven't checked it out yet, mark your calendars for March 27th to April 12th. That should be a great time to be there. So it all leads up to America's 250th coming up this summer. Reams, thanks for that recap. You know, all morning long we've been watching stocks on Wall Street. They are falling. Down now another 100 points since we last talked. The Dow down 740 points. All this as there's rising global tensions, a potential tariff war with some of our European allies. And it's all because President Trump's desire to acquire Greenland. That's really at the center of all of this. Now, he's threatening tariffs on some European allies who would want to potentially block that deal. So we're keeping an eye on Wall Street as the Dow is falling even more. Now to that breaking news out of Atlanta. The crime scene tape is coming down, it appears, outside of Summit Cafeteria. This a couple of hours after officers first set it up. They got a call of gunshots fired just before 8 o'clock this morning. This is on Marietta Street Northwest. It's about a block from the MARTA 5 Point Station, just several blocks away from Centennial Olympic Park. But you see that officer there at the center of your screen taking down the crime scene tape that had been surrounding this entire block. Outside of Summit Cafeteria, that restaurant was open. It's been open since 6:30 this morning. In fact, you see the neon open sign. They are still open at this hour, though clearly not taking any customers, or they are within that crime scene, or at least were. That crime scene now wrapping up. The details surrounding what exactly happened, extent of injuries, search for any suspect, we don't yet have. We have asked Atlanta police for information regarding that. We know they are working on it. And as soon as we learn about anybody who was shot and anybody who was arrested or who might be on the run, we will bring you that information. It's great to be with you here on 11Alive Plus this morning. Been following a ton of breaking news. That is our goal here out of the 11Alive Streaming Center, as we are with you every morning from 9 to 11 a.m. And there's plenty more to follow for the next 50 minutes. Reem, should we talk to Joe? I'm going to bring in my good friend Joe Ripley, who just popped into the studio. Joe, somewhere in this stack of papers I have your script, but I'm not even going to attempt to find it. You, my friend, take it away. What are you working on today?
Yeah, so today we were spotlighting some of the concern, actually, Dan, when it comes to some of the medical uncertainty surrounding America's healthcare system. You know, as we know, the expiring Affordable Care Act subsidies, those expired at the end of last year. There were also some Medicaid cuts as a result of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act being signed into law by President Trump last year. So a lot of flux in store for many patients, especially those most vulnerable. I wanted to talk to doctors, see what patients are feeling on the ground. You know, we visited 11Health. This was a clinic in Clarkston not too long ago, and they serve a lot of our refugee and immigrant community, a lot of low-income families, and families really uncertain, one, about navigating life here in the U.S., but also navigating this healthcare system that they say has become increasingly complicated. So here's a look and listen to what they had to say. Dr. Robert Contino runs 11Health, a clinic that largely serves immigrants and refugees in DeKalb County. He's kicking off 2026 concerned.
In Georgia, it's estimated that 750,000 people are going to lose their insurance. And I'm almost certain that the large majority of people that lose their insurance are going to be from lower income communities just like ours.
Contino says many of his patients, some of the most vulnerable, are going to be hit hardest by cuts to Medicaid and the removal of Affordable Care Act subsidies. In July, President Trump signed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act into law, which includes substantial cuts to funding for Medicaid and Medicare. In October, the government shut down over whether to extend the ACA subsidies, driving up insurance premiums this year.
We have to realize that health doesn't happen in a vacuum. We need the social services, we need the healthcare system to work together, and seeing our patients not just as a number, but as our neighbors.
Contino's colleague, Dr. Esther Kim, is an immigrant herself. She says lawmakers should reconsider policies that increase access and affordability to care. Chris Denson with the conservative-leaning Georgia Public Policy Foundation says the federal government must rein in spending and cut waste. He says he does not expect Medicaid cuts to impact Georgians as much because the state did not expand Medicaid and does not pay as much as other states in provider fees.
Insurers are attributing the cost of the rise in health insurance premiums to structural pressures like higher medical utilization, inflation, hospital consolidation.
Dr. Contino says Congress needs to act fast because so much is on the line.
It can be devastating. It can be really a matter of life and death.
That is the goal, Dan, for Congress to act quickly. But as we know, that's not always the case. We experienced a government shutdown the last time this issue came up for debate in October. There's a January 30th deadline now for Congress to come up with some sort of resolution. There's debate over whether to resurrect these Affordable Care Act subsidies. As we know, we've already seen patients' premiums go up because of those subsidies expiring. There's also the question of telehealth. Some of these rural and more local hospital care, in-home needs also need to be sorted out. So a lot that Congress is working on, as we know, but this one especially hitting folks hard. A matter of life and death, these doctors say.
The ACA deadline just passed days ago. Some folks choosing to just roll the dice and say, I'm not going to have coverage. I'm just going to hope for the best, essentially.
That is. And, that's some of the short-term and longer-term impacts that we are estimating that will come because of this. Fewer doctor's visits, people rolling the dice, not choosing to be insured, and maybe having to pay some more out-of-pocket costs, maybe waiting a little longer to seek the care that they need. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, Joe Ripley, the debate not going anywhere, so we know we'll continue to talk about it. Thank you so much. And coming up, some new federal dietary guidelines are out, and not everybody agrees with what's on the menu. We'll be talking about that with a special guest just 2 minutes away. So did you see this? The federal government just updated its advice on what Americans should eat, and it is drawing some scrutiny from nutrition experts who say it conflicts with prior guidance. Let's bring in Mark Kennedy joining us this morning, Senior Vice President of Legal Affairs at the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Mark, good morning to you. Always nice to talk to another Kennedy, though no relation that I know of. How you doing this morning?
Doing all right, cousin. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, we'll check the lineage after this. Hey, a lot to unpack here. Let's just start with the basics. How are these guidelines different from the old ones?
I'm an attorney, so for me, the primary difference is the process that went into it. Before, it was a very public process. This time, this was sort of a haphazardly, behind-the-scenes created committee that drafted guidelines that are very different nutrition-wise from prior recommendations. So what we have this time around, contrary to consensus in the science, is recommendations for meat, full-fat dairy, low-carb diets, fad diets basically, and then almost cautions against plant-based diets after years of sort of trending in that direction under the robust public process that we had until now.
Is there anything when you look at it that you agree with, that you say, okay, well, maybe this is a little better than we had anticipated, better than years past, or are you taking issue
Sure.
with just about it all?
No, there are some positives. It's a shorter document than usual, so in that sense, it's probably easier for the general public to consume, and that is part of the statute that it's supposed to be for the general public. And then there are some, there's a limitation or recommended limitation on consumption of alcohol, and the guidelines do say nice things about eating plants and fruits and vegetables, but not enough. And it's certainly a step back. I don't know if you've seen the diagram that goes along with it, but it's very much a throwback to the old four food groups of the 50s.
And Mark, I saw you quoted in the New York Times in this article discussing some of the conflicts of interest, the alleged conflicts of
Right.
interest, that went on into making these new guidelines. Can you tell me a little bit about that and what you take issue with when it comes to those conflicts of interest?
Sure. In the past, this process went through something called a Federal Advisory Committee under a statute called the Federal Advisory Committee Act. And that was a very public process that spanned years. And there were hearings and public comments. And the idea under FACA is that you have a committee that is fairly balanced. That's one standard, and not inappropriately influenced by a special interest. And that's another standard. And what we had this time was a panel of panel of 9, 8 of whom have obvious conflicts of interest, and those interests that they have are reflected in the guidelines. So it's people from the beef industry, people from the fad diets, people who have long supported dairy. And what you saw in that New York Times article is that the experts were handpicked by the administration instead of going through that robust public process. And as a result, we have very conflicted guidelines.
I will tell you, a spokesperson for HHS said that the dietary guidelines were based on a rigorous scientific review and independent oversight, saying it's absurd to suggest that anything other than gold standard science guided our work on this presidential priority. Do you have a response to that statement?
Sure. I mean, this is a really curious process. In the scientific report itself that accompanies the guidelines, there's a whole preamble written by scientists criticizing the process that went before. And that's kind of a political statement that you wouldn't expect in a supposedly scientific document. And again, going back to that New York Times article, these people were handpicked because of the messages that they advance. So the administration wasn't really interested in consensus or what the preponderance of scientific and medical knowledge is. They were interested in a particular message, and that's what we have with these guidelines.
Mark, if I can go back now and talk about your position as Senior VP of Legal Affairs there at Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. What exactly can you do at this point? I understand, I believe you filed a complaint with HHS and USDA about the guidelines. What do you hope to accomplish with that? What are next steps?
Well, the first step was this petition, and we filed it immediately. And it is with the Office of Inspector General for each agency. And that's the body within each agency that is supposed to neutrally and independently assess whether the law was followed in agency action. And then if we don't get a prompt response to that, we will file a lawsuit.
If these guidelines stand as written, what are your concerns for Americans out there who take them to heart?
Well, these recommendations are going to harm Americans. So recommending a diet that's high in fat, high in meat, high in full fat dairy, I mean, these are the very things that are the highest in saturated fat, which oddly, the guidelines also say to avoid. So people who consume these things are going to have increased risk of obesity, heart disease, diabetes, and some forms of cancer. And why would you recommend that?
And we actually have the new pyramid pulled up here so our viewers can see it as we follow along. Mark, is there anything I'm not asking that you think is important to the story?
Well, even the pyramid strikes me as a strange development. In about the last 15 years, the USDA had been using a plate, something that makes sense to the consumer. It's got apportionment. You can understand it. You're familiar with that shape. You look at that upside down pyramid, and do you take away anything? Do you know which part is the most important part, or what things to avoid from that? It's another throwback to an earlier time, and it frankly just doesn't make any sense.
Mark Kennedy, Senior Vice President of Legal Affairs at the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Thank you for your time this morning, sir.
Thank you for having me here.
And we have more news coming up on the other side of the break. You are watching 11Alive Plus from our streaming center. I'll see you in just a couple minutes. We are back now with some new court filings revealing some disturbing details about a UGA law student found dead 25 years ago. Some of these details, we do need to warn you, are disturbing. Let's get more from Cody Alcorn.
On January 19, 2001, firefighters found Tara Baker's body inside her Athens home. The fire ruled intentional. Her death, a homicide. The case remained unsolved for the next 23 years until 2024, when authorities announced Edric Faust was charged with murder. While the prosecution will lay out their case in the coming weeks, a new defense filing reveals details never believed to be public until now. While maintaining Faust is innocent, they describe Baker's killer as extremely enraged. The motion claims Baker was beaten until her eyes blackened and her face swelled. It says she was strangled with a printer cord. It alleges she was stabbed in the neck with a butcher knife. The filing claims Baker was sexually assaulted in painful and demeaning ways and alleged the attack continued while Baker was still alive. It states the killer set a blanket on fire on the stove, then put it on her bed before locking her inside the room. In an effort to cover their tracks, the defense writes the killer took extraordinary steps to conceal the crime, including wiping down Baker's home and even stealing her laptop and documents out of a filing cabinet. The defense describes it as a rage killing and says it does not match any type of crime tied to Faust.
Okay, back here live in the streaming center this morning. We were just getting some new details about a deadly pedestrian crash that we've just learned is fatal. We're going to have details on that coming up on the other side of this break when Doug Turnbull and Rachel Cox-Rosen join us live in studio to talk all things traffic. We'll see you in just 2 minutes. We are back this morning with a breaking news update to a pedestrian crash that we've been telling you about all morning long. Rachel Cox-Rosen, Doug Turnbull, both in here this morning. And Rachel, unfortunately, I guess we knew at the time it was going to be bad, and we just got confirmation of that.
Yeah, so this crash was in Stonecrest, Turner Hill Road at Mall Parkway. And Doug Turnbull, our traffic reporter, my partner in crime, was actually at that scene. And what's this update we just got?
Yeah, we rolled up onto it actually within just a few minutes of DeKalb police clearing it there, and they had a wide perimeter set up on Turner Hill Road southbound there just south of I-20. And whenever we see anything like that, that's an indication that it at very least is going to be bad, and that's what we were told even before we got there. And then we learned just a few minutes ago that unfortunately a woman in the 5 o'clock hour this morning was on Turner Hill Road, got struck by a vehicle on the northbound side and actually hit into the southbound lanes and passed away. The driver did cooperate, and they were uninjured, and the truck, it was a pickup truck, And we have not, I believe, since then had the identity of the woman released, but unfortunately they did pass away.
Crosswalks, stoplights, anything out there?
It's very dark, I can tell you that. There are some crosswalks, but Turner Hill is a pretty wide road. It's like 3 lanes in each direction. So, and considering the lighting out there, even though there are a lot of businesses, it would be easy for something like that to happen if someone's in the wrong place.
All right. Well, sorry to bring you that news. Any better news this morning, though? Because I know traffic was an issue elsewhere. Are things improving right now?
Yeah, I would say so. A lot of the incidents we were covering earlier finally started to clear, and now we're starting to see more typical traffic for this time of day.
All right. What else you got for us this morning?
Well, we're going to bring a segment that we have in the earlier hours to your show, Dan. We
I
call
love it.
Yeah, we call it Road Work for Your Work Week. Lots of alliteration there. Let's talk about what we're going to have on the agenda for Road Work for Your Work Week. 10th Street sewer replacement sounds frustrating for my Midtown drivers. Old National Highway, some changes coming there, and Factory Shoals Road going to be closed for a number of days. So we're going to start with that 10th Street closure. Sounds familiar. I've definitely made this graphic a few times. It's going to be closed between Juniper Street and Piedmont Avenue for more sewer repair work for the next 3 weeks. Doug, why is this happening again?
Yeah, for sure. Well, you nailed it, sewer repair work. And when we got the press release about this, I was like, wait, in the exact same spot, the place that was closed all of September and reopened in time for Pride Weekend? I thought when it reopened, it was done. And I actually reached out to the Department of Watershed Management. Here's some video that we shot, by the way, of the day that after that closure went in place. And they said, yes, this is the second phase of this project. Now, you may be wondering, well, why do you need so long to do sewer repair? This is a planned closure, not an emergency. So it's basically to not only update a decades old, I forget the number, it's like 80 or 90-year-old system, but it's also to add capacity. I mean, Rachel, you and I, we both know a ton of people that live in Midtown and these giant buildings and many more buildings getting built, and you have to add capacity to be able to handle all of that. So that's why it's happening. It's supposed to reopen by the middle of next month. It's like already the end of January, so I'm like, it's the middle of next month, middle of February.
Yep.
And the detour is in place, basically simply involving 8th Street. And so hope it doesn't cause too big of a hassle for you.
Yeah, luckily Midtown drivers are kind of used to it at this point. That and Juniper, we've had to deal with a lot. Also want to talk about another project, some big changes coming to Old National Highway. They're going to be building what are called R-cut intersections at 3 different intersections at Old National Parkway, Old Bill Cook Road, and Jolly Road. So what's an R-cut intersection? Does anyone know?
No, I'm wondering.
I had to
Doug
look
knows.
this one up. I had to look it up for this, though, for real.
This is something I've run into in the past at my last job. So an R-cut intersection basically eliminates left turns because, those are the most dangerous kind of turns. I made a little rough graphic here. The example I used is Old National and Jolly Road, where they're doing one of these R-cut intersections. So as you can see here, folks are going to have to make a right turn and then a U-turn in order to go the other direction, so to go from south to north, for example, on Old National Highway. So it should eliminate some of the scarier crashes we see. So, and Doug, you looked into why exactly they're doing this on Old National.
Yeah, and R-cut intersections are just part of the adjustments there. We're eliminating those left turns or going straight across like 4 or 5 lanes, right? They're also adding raised medians to constrict where people can make those U-turns, all right? And that is to help protect pedestrians. They did a study some years ago, and Old National Highway had there's any is too many, but they had an undue amount of pedestrians hit by vehicles. It's kind of a high-speed road and a lot of people on foot. So these, as you look at the picture here of Old National Highway and some of that construction, these adjustments are being made for that. This is about a $2 million project, and it's going to be done sometime in the winter of this year.
Yeah, so just one more project to bring you guys, and it's another sewer replacement project, a storm pipe replacement, similar but not exactly the same. Doug and I found out about this morning. We asked GDOT about it. So Factory Shoals Road going to be closed at Highway 6 Thornton Road through Saturday evening when they do that work. So, Dan, that's all we got.
I love this segment, and you taught me something
thank you.
new, the R-cut. Is it called the R-cut because it's supposed to resemble an R in aerial view?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
We'll
let's say that.
We'll go with that?
I'm sure that's the reason.
We will find out.
No, I
think
don't
so.
know.
I think
No, that's actually really smart. I don't know. We had to look up what it was.
All right, whatever. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, whatever.
Hey, we're moving on to talk about sports coming up after the break. We got to talk about the big Atlanta Falcons hire. We got to talk about the game last night. Did you stay up and watch that? Maria Martin joining us in just 2 minutes. See you then. Hey, let's talk sports. Did you stay up and watch the game last night? Indiana crowned national champs after defeating Miami. And what an incredible season for the Hoosiers. 16-0, undefeated. That game being played in Miami as we take a live look there from Hard Rock Stadium in South Beach. But wow, what a story for Indiana. Let's bring in Maria Martin joining us now from our sports team. Maria, they had the undefeated season. They had the Heisman-winning quarterback.
Yeah.
Where does this rank in greatest sports stories of all time?
It's up there. It's got to be up there. And we talked about the fact that I'm from South Florida. I'm actually really happy that Indiana won. I know that's going to surprise some Hurricanes fans, and they're going to tell me I'm disappointing. But I will say Indiana has the better story. Fernando Mendoza, how could you not love what he's done with college football? Not just him, but all of Indiana. But I'm focusing on him because his story's incredible. He's a Miami kid. He's from Miami, wanted to go to the University of Miami. They denied him a walk-on spot. And guess what he did? He handed them a loss on the biggest stage in college football. It's unbelievable. The story is incredible. I can't even imagine being in that position if I'm Fernando Mendoza. And now he's going to be the #1 overall pick in the NFL draft this year. I'm a Heisman voter, proud to be a Heisman voter. I voted for him, and I'm so happy that I did because I think the right quarterback won the national championship. He's been so much fun to watch. What a fun story.
It's going to be a movie one day. I mean, it writes itself.
It has to be. And you know what I will say about the University of Miami? I think college football is better when the U is back. If you are a diehard college football fan and you understand the history of the University of Miami, back in the 90s, they were the most fun team. Mm-hmm. They were very controversial, as we all know, but they were the most fun team to follow. And so I love that Miami is back, and I love how competitive the game was. It came down to the final drive. Obviously, Carson Beck throwing an interception to really end it.
Yeah.
But what a phenomenal scene down there in Miami. I am proud of South Florida. It looked beautiful.
It did, no doubt. All right, let's talk about the NFL coaching carousel. And we'll get into the nitty-gritty of Atlanta in a minute. But I'm just thinking more broadly. We're now looking at like 10 vacancies. Do you think this is the new normal after every season?
Gosh, I hope not, Dan, because I like to sleep. You know what I mean? No, but it feels that way, especially when you see Sean McDermott getting fired, right? You know, all of these coaches, especially in the AFC, it is unbelievable the turnover and just the amount of turmoil when it comes to the head coaching position. The pressure is there, unlike it ever has been. As long as you spend enough money on sports, it's going to continue to ramp up that pressure. And so I do think that it's going to be a little bit more chaotic than what we're used to. I think long gone are the days of coaches being around for a decade plus. It doesn't happen anymore. Mm-hmm. You're not competing for a Super Bowl when you're dominating the AFC East. Of course, I'm talking about the Bills specifically. The expectation is what's happening past that. And when you have a Josh Allen in their prime, you want to get somebody else in there to try to get him a Lombardi trophy. And honestly, the city of Buffalo, that poor fan base has been through so much. It pains me whenever I see what happens to the Buffalo Bills every year, and they had enough with Sean McDermott. He's going to make a great coach somewhere else, but this is the new normal, sadly. I say sadly because it's crazy how far college football in the NFL has gotten.
Yeah, you don't need to tell me about the pain of the Bills. I was watching it with my family. They're all from upstate.
Terrible, I know.
I mean, my dad watched, I think it was 4 straight Super Bowl losses.
Did he cry?
Yeah, he didn't cry, but
I wouldn't blame him if he did, honestly.
But I left the room.
Yeah,
I left the room
I believe
after
it.
overtime. Let's talk about Kevin Stefanski. I'm seeing some split opinions online.
Very split.
But ESPN gives it a B+. Yahoo Sports gives the hire an A. What are your initial thoughts on this hire?
I want Falcons fans to take a deep breath. That's what I want, because I understand that they're frustrated, and I totally get it. Not talking about the Kevin Stefanski hire. I'm just talking about the last 10 years in general for this fan base. It's been pretty tough. It's not Buffalo Bills tough, but it's hard. And I think whenever you have somebody, when you look at it on paper, who's only won 8 games in 2 seasons, which is Kevin Stefanski, you automatically hit the panic button. But until you peel back the layers and understand what happened in Cleveland, you might want to change your opinion a little bit. Cleveland is a terrible place to be a coach, okay? Look at the history of what's happened to the head coaches that have gone through there. Bill Belichick, debatably the best coach of all time, had a 44% win record in Cleveland, went on to do unbelievable things, obviously, in New England. So I think when you look back at that, and even Nick Saban, he was his defensive coordinator there in Cleveland, he talks about the days of Cleveland, and when you leave Cleveland, you have a lot of success. And so that's what the overarching mindset is in the NFL when it comes to Kevin Stefanski. A lot of people have thought, man, if Kevin could get out of Cleveland, he will be successful. Okay. And he has had to deal with a ton of stuff. And this is not me making excuses for what happened. 8 wins in 2 seasons is garbage. Everybody knows that, and you want more wins on the board, that's for sure. But when you have a change of scenery and you have a little bit more stability, talking about Kevin, because he had 13 quarterbacks during his 6 seasons in Cleveland, and an unbelievable amount of drama on top of that, It's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
And you have to remember, too, not every decision that's ever been made in Cleveland was Kevin Stefanski making those at the helm of those decisions. I think that this will be a great situation for him. It's a lot more stability. Clearly, he has another quarterback conundrum, if you want to call it that, but it's nothing compared to what he dealt with in Cleveland. And so I think that this is very positive. I'm going to call it positive for the Falcons fan base, given also what other coaches are out there. And one more thing that I really want to point out that we haven't talked about a lot, the Falcons, remember you and I talked about timeline, right? Especially with John Harbaugh.
Right.
I feel like they were a little pressed with this because you have a coach with head coaching experience in that amount of time. You either go and get him because you know you want someone with experience. Matt Ryan's been high on Kevin Stefanski from the very beginning. If you don't hire him, what happens? Let's say you're waiting for Clint Kubiak, which a lot of Falcons fans wanted to see that happen. He can't get hired right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's still playing football. So let's say he goes to a Super Bowl and you're waiting for just one person, and what if he doesn't choose the Falcons? What if it doesn't work out? Then you're stuck with, I don't know what's going on. And so it's a high risk, high reward thing in that scenario, although I don't think Kevin Stefanski is a high risk.
Right.
At
Okay.
all.
Good to hear. Titans fans kicking themselves right now because I think they're still looking for a coach, and they got rid of Mike Vrabel, and look at him now. Look what he's doing. It's just incredible. All right, so let's talk about Stefanski keeping the defensive coordinator for the Falcons, but he's going a different direction with the offense.
Mm-hmm.
How should we be reading into that?
I think it's huge that they're keeping Jeff Holbrook on the defensive side of the ball. And I remember a couple weeks ago when Arthur Blank had his press conference, he said it wasn't going to be a necessity for this new coaching staff, GM, head coach, all of that, to keep him, but we're going to make it a suggestion. And they should, because continuity is huge in football, and especially with a group that's so young. All of the pieces on the defensive side of the ball are very, at least your key pieces, they're young. They're just starting out in their career. And give those guys a lot of credit. The rookies, they showed out. And so if you have somebody that has continuity in the scheme, they can take that to even another level. So that evens itself out. That's good. You keep him, I think it's smart. On the offensive side of the ball, there needed to be a lot of change. And so he's still working on finalizing his staff. There's a lot of reports out there. The indications are that he's going to bring Tommy Reese over. He's very young. Him and I are the same age, actually. He's 33. He'll be 34 this year. He's a great offensive mind. A lot of people in the NFL believe that he'll be a head coach someday. He has familiarity, obviously, with him. He was there with him in Cleveland. He was an offensive coordinator at Alabama for you SEC fans that don't really care about anything else. He was with Nick Saban, so he's learned from the best. Bring him over. And then Bill Callahan, who is one of the most well-respected offensive line coaches in the NFL. He was a head coach a very long time ago, but he's been in the NFL since 1995. The dude has unbelievable experience. And it is unfortunate in that regard because Dwayne Ledford has been such a staple here, the offensive line coach for the Falcons, and this O-line loves Ledford. He is truly one of the best. If, in fact, he is leaving Atlanta, I'm going to miss him terribly. He's been phenomenal with that offensive line. But a lot of the times with these head coaches, it's just who you know and who you want to be a part of your staff. I think changes were necessary on the offensive side of the ball. I think it's really going to help just kind of re-energize what they're already trying to do.
All right, college football's over. Just a few games left
Don't
in
remind me.
the NFL. We got a coach for the Falcons. The Masters 76 days away.
Oh, okay. We can count down to that. That's good.
So what are you doing between now and then? I mean, is this kind of a lull?
No. What's a lull, Dan, in sports? You've been here. You know what's going on in Atlanta sports.
Yeah.
No, we have spring training, obviously, in February, which is great. Everybody looks forward to that. The beginning of baseball season is always just such a fun time, and there's so much hope because there is no baseball that's been played yet. So everyone's in a good mood. It's great. No, I think the Braves will have a very good season, and there's a lot of drama happening in baseball right now. We could talk about this tomorrow if you want. There's a pending lockout happening in 2027.
Okay.
So that's the thought around baseball, is that a lockout is coming. So if you're a baseball fan, enjoy this season because I'm scared it's going to take a pause next year, which is terrible.
Braves fans, did you hear that? Enjoy it while it lasts. Maria, thank you so much.
You bet.
Yeah, let's have you on to talk about baseball soon.
Any day.
Okay, and coming up in just a few minutes, Caitlin Ross is joining us. Always looking forward to her stories, and we will speak with her on the other side of this break. Welcome back here to 11Alive Plus. It's been so nice to be with you since 9 o'clock this morning here from our streaming center. We have had plenty of guests this morning, and I'm excited about this next one. Caitlin Ross always bringing on a great animal story for us, and you've got this one about some rescued Georgia animals becoming unexpected movie stars?
This is one of the best stories I think I've ever done. I'm really excited about it. So, these rescue animals are rescued by this woman, Nicole Canoy. She is incredible. She knows everything about every animal. She's like Snow White, basically. And the animals love her. And she takes these animals that wouldn't survive in the wild. And if they have the right temperament and if they want to, she makes them movie stars. Her training methods are incredible. They include marshmallows and Dr. Pepper. It's all positive reinforcement, so it's like all really good stuff. And then she uses the profits that the movie star animals make to run a farm where she cares for 160 animals.
Wow.
It's amazing.
So
it's really cool.
All that dog training I paid for back in the puppy days, I
Right.
just needed marshmallows.
You just needed marshmallows and Dr. Pepper, man.
Let's take a look at the story. What do you say?
Yes.
I guess I was born this way. I had my first wolf pup from a rescue when I was 4.
The animals at Nicole Canoy's rescue are like family.
He is a baby and he wants to be in your pocket all the time.
Her babies lighting up her life.
It's not just about helping the animal have a better life, that it's about people knowing that they're special and non-judged and they're needed.
That love lighting up the silver screen.
This is Gus. He's the Aflac goat. He was taught to be mischievous, and he does that very well. He's done Harriet Tubman. I can trust this snake because I've had him since he was a baby.
She trains the animals she saves to steal the scene in movies.
This is Nut Nut. I got him when he was 17. He's 27, which is an...
He's 27?
Yes. Unheard of amount, no.
Like he wanted to come see me. She's saved thousands of animals over her 27 years in rescue.
They love, love, love to be scratched, and he dances.
But she says only a few of them are meant to be movie stars.
My goal with him is to become the Liberty Mutual emu.
Never forcing them to act.
We give George a date, and so they can dub in speaking parts.
Only selecting the animals that like to show off for set.
So George can do hands up for his burglar shots.
Using positive reinforcement and marshmallows to get the shot. The animals she saves would not survive in the wild.
Hi, there you go.
So she's giving them a second chance at life and a platform to show people that animals matter.
I started working with alligators when I was little.
Nicole says showing people how incredible these rescue animals are on screen is saving them in the wild.
It's about saving a whole generation of people to actually care about the squirrel in their backyard and the raccoon that's in their trash can. This is Crease. He is the snake that we used in Cobra Kai.
Each animal showing audiences that real connection and real compassion can start with the smallest scene.
Brings happiness and wholesomeness and innocence and just love for something that they don't understand. Good, hands up, good. And then that is our pay stick.
Amazing, Caitlin. Amazing. How did you find this story?
So interestingly enough, I found the story through a duck. So we were doing a story on a duck rescue, and this really cool duck rescue called Waddle On 3D prints beaks for ducks.
Okay.
And one of the offshoots of the story was, hey, did you know 2 of my ducks got adopted as the Aflac duck? And I was like, hold the phone.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this Aflac duck. And she said, oh, there's a whole rescue that puts rescued animals on screen. And so she, the duck lady, gave me the number for Nicole, who is the movie star lady.
Yeah.
And she started talking, and I was like, this is insane. This is so cool. She's one of the only licensed wildlife rescues in the entire state. And you could just hear her depth of knowledge there. She knows so much about all of these animals, what motivates them, what's going to compel them to do what she wants. It's incredible.
I mean, squirrels, alligators, dogs, rabbits, raccoons. She had it all.
She's got it all. She has a cat named Trash Kitty that did not make the final cut, but Trash Kitty was immaculate.
Okay. So does she keep a running list of all the movies that they've appeared in?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's got credits in all of these movies. She has some cool behind-the-scenes pictures. Like, she and one of her main trainers have been in The Walking Dead because one of their horses was featured in The Walking Dead. The raccoon that you saw is actually the mascot for the state of Michigan's recycling program. So she has all of these different credits to her name.
Yeah.
That snake that we saw, Crease, was terrifying.
Yeah.
So Kreese does all of the bite scenes in movies. So if you need a snake to actually bite you in a movie, you go to Kreese.
What?
And she chooses him because of his temperament. He is a mean snake, and she knows it. And so she puts him in situations where he's going to succeed. And this is, I just think, so interesting. So if you have a venomous snake versus a non-venomous snake, the venomous snake gets more money per day because it's more dangerous to work with. So like the rescue side of it is so cool, but also like the monetization side of it is super interesting.
So she pockets some from these appearances, I
So
imagine.
yes, she makes money and then she pours all of that money back into her rescue. So she uses like the moneymaker animals. Those pay for the animals that don't want to work. So there are certain animals that aren't going to have the right temperament. Like I met Nina, a 39-year-old miniature pony. Nina does not want to work. She is a lady of leisure.
Nina's 39.
Exactly, right? Thank you. So Nina is just chilling. She's living a happy pony life, but you know, George, the raccoon, pays for her to munch in the pasture all day. So it's kind of like this cool cycle that happens.
Does Nicole run this all by herself? I mean, that is quite the undertaking.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So she has a couple trainers who she works with, but for the most part, she's running it by herself. Like she is there 24 hours a day, attending to all of the different needs of the animals, and she has enclosures for all of them that mimic their real-world habitats.
Okay.
So she is attuned to every single detail of these animals' lives.
Wow. I've officially seen it all. Did anything surprise you most from doing this story?
Okay, Nut Nut, who you're seeing right there. The fact that a squirrel can live to 27, that was surprising to me. I did not think that they hung in there that long.
Right.
That was kind of crazy. The fact that alligators can be affectionate, that was interesting to me.
Oh, yeah?
Like
Did you hug the gator?
I did not. She offered and I declined. But she leaned right in. There is another animal, Wrigley, the rescue camel, who you saw right at the beginning. Wrigley is 8 months old and thinks that Nicole is his mom. Wrigley was rescued from a cruelty situation. She's bottle-fed Wrigley. He has grown up with her and just wants to be in her pocket 24 hours a day. So, I mean, he follows her around. He gets jealous when other people talk to her. He hasn't spit yet, but he was looking at me like, you get away from my mom or I'm going to spit on you.
Caitlin, your love of animals is infectious. I just love it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Such a great story. Okay, thank you. Come back anytime, please. Although it's going to be hard to top that one. Coming up in just a couple minutes here on 11Alive. Keep it here on 11Alive Plus because we are following several big stories coming up in our next newscast, including we're watching some national walkouts happening nationwide and here in Georgia, coinciding with 1 year since President Trump's inauguration. Also, the former DeKalb County superintendent bails out of jail. The Supreme Court is hearing a Georgia Lyft driver case. And Georgia's Winter Olympian officially makes Team USA. All that and more coming your way here on 11Alive Plus. Great to be with you on this Tuesday morning. I'll see you back here tomorrow.